Speaking on the same day at the convention as Khizr Khan was Minnesota State Representative Peggy Flanagan, who is a member of the White Earth tribe of Ojibwe. Flanagan rebuked Trump for the way he used the name Pocahontas. Flanagan's speech was in the form of a letter to her 3-year-old daughter.
Your name is not Pocahontas. It is Siobhan Mayengan, and you should never let anyone make you feel anything less than proud of who you are.
Flanagan is one of a number of high-profile supporters, including Senators Amy Klobuchar and Al Franken, who are working with the Clinton campaign, who has staff here in the state. Donald Trump, on the other hand, does not at this time have any campaign staff or presence in Minnesota, although we are hearing that could change soon. When and if it does, we will invite Trump representatives to be guests on this show. But right now, we want to welcome State Representative Peggy Flanagan. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Let me ask you about the remark you made about Pocahontas to the convention. When Donald Trump called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, the mainstream media focused on the issue of whether or not Senator Warren had Native American blood. Mm-hmm. I didn't see a lot of coverage on what that comment meant to Native Americans. What did it mean?
So as I wrote this letter to my daughter, that was sort of the lens through which I saw it. That when Donald Trump is making comments about Elizabeth Warren, he's actually making comments about Native people everywhere, and Native women in particular. This stereotype, just this disrespectful language. When I turn on the television, I shouldn't have to worry about changing the channel when a nominee for president is speaking. And right now, I have to protect my child from the kind of hateful rhetoric that she's hearing from Donald Trump.
All right. Let me ask you, later today, the Clinton campaign here will hold a number of events with Wendy Davis, the former state senator from Texas, who is widely seen as an abortion rights hero amongst many feminists. Is the Clinton campaign here concerned that they don't have the women vote locked up in Minnesota?
I mean, I think, Hillary Clinton will be successful in Minnesota. And listen, this is a historic opportunity to nominate. We just nominated the first woman, and to elect the first woman. I think that's something to be incredibly excited about, and turn out the base and make sure that, we're having lots of conversations. It's not just the presidential race that's at stake in Minnesota. We've got I'm up as well as every other House member and senator. And so there's a lot at stake. And I appreciate that there's some energy here and that we're trying to turn out as many folks as possible.
When you look at the polls in swing states especially, this is a tight race. And when you throw in Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate, and also Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, the two of them together, they're polling in excess of 10-12% in many of these states. How concerned is the Clinton campaign about this?
Well, I think it's critically important. I know that in our state that the Native vote has made a real difference and impact in elections, and I think the same will be said across the country. So making sure that we're talking to young people, people of color, Indigenous people is going to be what really makes a difference in this campaign. And, I certainly am advocating for the Clinton campaign to do that, and that's really what it's going to take.
All right. When I was talking to you, I asked you, how long have you been in Hillary's camp? Mm-hmm. And you said you weren't sure at first, and it took you a while. You're the former executive director of the Minnesota branch of the Children's Defense Fund, an organization Hillary Clinton worked for. Mm-hmm. If somebody like you, a young mother, wasn't on board from the beginning, doesn't that raise concerns for the Clinton camp? Because on paper, you'd be somebody who'd be there immediately.
Well, I think, there's lots of passion on both sides with Bernie and with Hillary. And for me, I wanted to make sure that, I was taking my time. But here's the deal. Now I am way on board. And as you said, issues around paid family leave, access to high quality, affordable childcare, those are the things that I care most passionately about. And so does Hillary. So I am on board, ready to get to work. And I'm honored to be able to play some role in her campaign.
Right. And how big an issue is going to be voter registration? You are from an extraordinary background. You make no bones about it. You are on, assistance, public assistance. Mm-hmm. Many people who are in low-income areas are not voting. Mm-hmm. What kind of an effort is the Hillary campaign going to do to try and get those voters to vote?
Well, I think it's critical. So often we're like, oh, those people don't care. I am those people. we need to take the time to make sure that folks that we're knocking on doors, we're registering people to vote. It's critical, and too often we focus on the folks who turn out every time. It's people who are living in low-income communities, folks who are most directly impacted by public policy are the ones that we should be talking to. So that's certainly what we're going to be doing, in my campaign, and we'll be encouraging the Hillary campaign to do that as well. It's critical.
Well, Representative Peggy Flanagan, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.